Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Old Man and the Kid podcast, where we talk about everything and anything, and maybe some things we shouldn't, but we talk about them anyways. To get the perspective of the Old Man and the Kid, let's get started with the show. Good times with your pops. So.
Yeah, we'll miss him, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. He's still there. He's still up there watching you.
No, he still chews my butt.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, it's the way it goes. He was hard on us, but I think that builds character, you know. And, one of the things that's been pretty cool lately is I made some good friends here with Axton's mom and dad, and they're a situation like you know, but they've got a young driver that did pretty good, and they wanted to move up to the mini sprint ranks.
Right on.
And they bought a good car, but it had some gremlins, and a mutual friend of ours, Gary DeWitt, said, man, you need to go call Josh, and he'll help you out. So they brought the car over, and I totally rewired it for him. And we went to mini sprint school on a Saturday morning, and to help Jordan understand what's going on and stuff. And lately I've been helping Axton do a little coaching with him at the races, and it's pretty rewarding to see a good young man. You tell him what he needs to hear, and I can be a little tough on him at times, but I don't know, I think it was his 5th race, and he got a W this year.
Nice. Good job, bud.
Thank you.
And last night, Axton and I told him he's got to stand on the gas. We talked about the tack and how we know when he's not on the gas. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, it's a funny story, and we'll let Axton tell his side of the story on this too, but he started to get comfortable in the car, and he's just kind of at his pace, and it wasn't a winning pace. So I said, Axton, you can drive this car harder. You've won. I know you can.
Right.
If I wouldn't tell you this if I didn't have faith in you and this car and your dad and myself and you. So I said, you see that little box right there in the corner? It says 14.2. He says, yeah. I go, that means that you didn't push it hard. He goes, yeah, it always says 14.4. I go, no, it says 14.6 or 7. I want to see 8.
Yeah.
And he kind of gave me this look like, oh, boy, like, I'm kind of busted, huh, last night, wasn't it, Axton?
Yeah.
So Axton took the lead with about 4 to go, and the guy who passed for lead ended up wiping him out. So knocked the tire off the beach, so we were doing a pit stop. And I told him to shut the car off, and the first thing I heard him say was, it says 14.7, it says 14.7. He didn't care his tires popped. He wanted us to know it said 14.7, and he was wheeling it last night. So
Yeah, I found out a long time, Axton, that the harder you drive them things, the easier they are to drive. I used to have the same thing. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm comfortable, and Josh will tell you, I got some couple of trips there in Tucson. I remember I went flying through the air, and you're like, what is he doing? I landed on all 4, stepped my foot in it, and still kept going. I wasn't giving up for nothing.
One thing about you, Alan, you didn't set track records, but you put on a show,
Heck
man.
yeah,
You were
buddy.
fun to watch, man. You were fun to watch.
I remember going into a heat race with Joey.
Shepard.
Mm-hmm. And we're going in there, and we're 1 and 2, and I go in there, and we wiped each other out, and I kept going, but he got wiped out. His dad came over all hot at me. He's like, what are you doing? You guys were pulling away from him. I'm like, I have no clue if I'm pulling away from him. I'm out front. I'm staying out front. I don't know how many of you guys are on my butt going to tear me up, so I'm keeping my foot in it. And if Joey would have kept his foot in it, we probably still would have finished 1-2. Mm-hmm. But, you don't quit.
Alan was like, if I can't win, I'm putting on the show. Dragon basket. But if he was in the lead, boy, he was tough to get by.
Yeah.
And then he didn't care.
And then I finally said, you know what? Maybe I should just run this show. And I started running the mini sprint show. So that was fun. That was, and then part of one of my goals was to kind of bring on little guys like you, and never got that far. We almost had one, and then that whole deal fell through. But that's where I was. So tell us about. Axton, tell us about how you got into racing. Did you race quarter midgets before and then mini sprints, or what'd you do?
I raced outlaw cars before the mini sprints.
Okay.
And when I wanted to start racing, my grandpa and my dad started doing it. And what I like about cars, I like how they sound, how you can control them, and I like their speed, and I like all mechanical stuff and lots of other things.
Nice. So where do you see yourself after mini sprints? You want to go sprint car racing? You want NASCAR down the wheels?
I'm going to do sprint car racing for a couple of years, and then I hope to do NASCAR.
Yeah, so another
nice.
Kyle Larson.
That'd be cool, man.
That's good. Hey, you got a good mentor here, though, in Josh. I mean, he knows how to set up a car. He knows how to make them hum. So That's good. I mean, that's where you started, right? Quarter midgets with Pops. And
Yeah, we started. I was, me and my dad. We used to go to Manzanita, and Kyle would come with us, my little brother, and he bought my first quarter midget when I was 4.5 years old. And you're gonna get a kick out of this, and man, this will really date myself. But the cage on it, I'm pretty sure it was aluminum, and it was cotter pinned on. You could pull this cage off. It was a Curtis chassis.
Oh, okay.
You hear Curtis; those are all museum pieces.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, we started out at 4.5, and I think that like Jordan and Jenny are doing with Axton, Axton is a very nice young man. He's very well mannered, and his school is important. He's a straight A student. And my dad, he sat me down. He had a mustard yellow and white 71 Chevy, 3/4 ton. And I'll never forget this. I was 5 years old, and he said that our deal is, we had a man-to-man talk, that if I put 110% into school, that he would put 110% into racing. And I mean, it cost him his marriage. He never let his end of the bargain down, because he wanted to see his son do good in school. And it's either you spend your money bailing your kids out of jail, or you spend it with them.
Right.
How do you want to spend your money? So just like you, I mean, you've done a great job with Cassie, college graduate. Congratulations, by the way. And, this is really cool to be a part of Axton's racing. And Axton's dad, Jordan, worked on NASCAR teams. He lived your dream, man. He was a crew guy, changing engines.
Okay.
This is back when they had to change an engine and they run 5 laps. Oh, we got to put a new engine in.
Right.
So that was Jordan's job, slapping engines in there. So I don't know if those connections still be around, but maybe something could happen for Axton.
Yeah.
So Axton,
that's a lot of it. It's not what you know till you know in this business.
So let's ask you this: if you had your pick in NASCAR, would you drive a Chevy, or a Ford, or a Toyota?
I would do a Ford or a Chevy.
Okay, I don't like to use the F word.
The F word?
Yeah.
I'm a Toyota man myself. I mean,
For the win.
but one of my heroes, and people don't like this, is Kyle Busch. That boy knows how to put a team together. He knows how to drive a car. And I know you hate saying this, but you always remind me of Kyle Busch.
Hey, man, he gets a W.
That's right.
Racing ain't for making friends. Racing's for winning.
No. Did you see he put Biffle in his truck this past weekend?
Hey,
Biffle won.
That's right, coffee with the Biff.
The boy hadn't raced in how many years, and he goes out there and waxes him. So,
Now, I'm a believer in this in racing, since we're talking a lot about racing.
Yeah.
I think racing is either something you do or don't have. There are very few people in this world that have come where they were like, man, this guy really sucks, and turned into something special. And those people were a victim of money and laps, where they just paid for lap after lap after lap after lap, where it almost became a second nature. But on the level that me and Axton are racing on, where you might get 2 or 3 races a month on a busy month,
right.
You're not, Axton gets about 20 minutes of race time a night under the green flag, and same for me in the sprint car. It's something either in you or it's not.
Yeah.
And NASCAR is really becoming a victim of the fat paycheck.
Oh, totally.
But Greg Biffle was not that. Greg Biffle was a stud. He was a driver.
Yep.
And Kyle Busch, he even said this, and he's got the best teams out there, and his drivers are not performing. They're not winning.
No, he's getting ticked off at the younger kids.
So, all right, we'll put a veteran in there.
Right.
Just like Axton. If he wasn't doing good, I'm going to hop in the 88. I'll show you can go fast. But I didn't need to do that, right,
No.
Axton?
Nope.
Hey, tell us about your race last night, Axton. Tell us how
Yeah,
how
let's
it
hear
went,
that.
man. That was a good one.
So when we got there, I pill-drove 20, and on my heat race, I started in second. And the 36, I kind of had a bad start, so I was way behind 36, and I was kind of letting off in the corners. So I finished third, I think. And after we were done, Josh told me we got to step on it and kick it up and everything. So on our main, I started second, and I was racing second for a while. Then I finally got to first for about maybe 4 laps, and then 25 took me out. So when I started in the back, and he started in the back as well, and maybe in the first 1 or 2 laps, I passed 3 cars, and I got behind him. So I kind of rammed into him, and I kind of pushed him all around the corner. So I got DQ'd, and he got DQ'd. But now we're even. So next race, we're just going to drive clean.
Now we're even.
There you go.
I like that. Now we're even. That's good.
Yep.
Bye.